Today, we're talking about how to get the most quad growth out of your leg extension possible without knee pain. Most lifters think leg extensions are simple. Sit down and extend the leg. They believe as long as you feel the burn or move enough weight, you're going to get growth. But that's wrong. The truth is the leg extension can be one of the misused tools in bodybuilding. And when you have this set up wrong, you train the quads for sure, but you can also not getting as much stimulus as you could for every set and beating up connective tissue that roadblocks you for growth. But when you have these set up right, it can be such a great exercise to get some of the most growth out of your quads. I'm John Jewett, IFBB Pro and J3 University educator, and I've coached and educated some of the top Olympians and IFBB pros in the game. I've made just simple adjustments in the leg extension setup to get more growth out of their quads than they thought possible. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the machine for your structure, the exact knee and ankle positions you need to use to avoid pain, and how to program this lift in your sessions to actually stack growth and not stack pain. The value to the leg extension, it's not just isolating the quads, as it is a unique exercise for that. It can still train all four heads of the quad. But one thing unique to leg extension is it gives us the opportunity to train the quad in the completely shortened position. We also will train the rectus femoris, which is a unique muscle in the quad that crosses not only the knee joint but also the hip joint. Now, this development of this muscle is unique for bodybuilding, as it's what gives you the separation between the teardrop and the quad sweep. This muscle essentially can widen the gap between these muscles and give you that width to the leg that we want. Now, the key to set this up first is you want to adjust to where you have your knee joint in line with the pivot point of the machine. If you don't have this aligned, you're going to feel the mechanics of the machine will be very awkward, and one part of the range will be very hard to get into that full range position. Next, you want to adjust the ankle support on the machine to be high enough up on the shin to allow full dorsiflexion of the ankle. When you're in that full dorsiflexion position and where you want to stay contracted, it'll create more stability at the knee, and more stability at the knee means more output for the quads. Don't point your toes away, as that will create instability at the knee. Now, when you get set up into this machine, we want to make sure you have it adjusted to where you can get as much knee flexion as possible. Now, if your leg extension is limited, you could use something like the Hustler pad to gain more range of motion out of, or a similar pad setup. For seat position, remember the main thing, keep your knee aligned, but also let the seat go far enough back to where you get a little bit of hip extension and lean back, but without losing your brace. That extra hip extension allows some more lengthening of that rectus femoris, which can get you a little bit more stimulus for growth. However, if you're leaning so far back that you lose stability and bracing, the hips are going to want to pop up. When the hips pop up, it means less range of motion, and you don't get that full lengthened range for the full entire quad, which essentially putting more tension in the full entire quad is what's going to get you more growth. And the last setup tip here is pull down hard into the seat. We don't want those hips to rise, because the moment they do, you lose the range. Now, if you have trouble gripping into the seat, use lifting straps, especially for those short arm lifters out there that can't reach the handles well. Now, troubleshooting pain and alignment. If you're feeling knee pain in your leg extension, the first setup thing you want to look at is rotating those femurs in. What does that mean? It's just that the knee should point straight ahead or also up towards the ceiling. Remember, the knee is just a hinge joint. It only bends. It's not meant to load the side of it very well. You see a lot of people will start setting up to where those feet are rotating out, and in turn, they're loading the medial aspect of the knee. Over time, that cannot be as friendly on connective tissue joint, and why a lot of people start running into knee pain. So making sure the entire time you keep those feet rotated in, or in turn really making sure that the knees are pointing up towards the ceiling. Loading patterns for the leg extension. A lot of us might just have a standard leg extension, but if you have one like the Prime Machine or Strive where you can have variable loading positions, how you'd want to load this is when you're warming up, start loading in the middle peg first. For most people, this can feel the most joint friendly. Then as you progress up to your work set, you can start putting some load onto that top peg, which is going to load the muscle more lengthened. Now, what we know in the leg extension is usually always really hard to lock out when the muscle is getting short. That's why we don't put a lot of weight on the bottom peg. The leg extension is already very hard to get to full shortened, locked out position. So making that even harder and making the stretch position even easier isn't really the best thing we want for constant tension throughout the entire range of motion. We want to match tension to how the strength profile is for that muscle. So we want a little bit more load on the top peg to load lengthen hard and then hit some mid-range, then lighten up at the top. But like I said, if you run into some joint pain or you don't feel as warmed up, stay loading towards more of the middle peg and then progress up to lengthen peg towards the later part of your sets. Now, programming in the leg extension for your workouts. If quads are a real priority point, you can get the most stimulus without any other contributing muscle in the leg extension. So it can make a lot of sense to put it first in your session. This also has the benefit of decreasing loading in all of your other squats and leg press movements to where you'll have less systemic fatigue accumulating and just more direct stimulus for the quads. This may even allow you to free up and do an extra set or two for quads since you're not just completely wiped out by loading up a heavy squat bar and having your load so high that it trains stimulus for everything and not a lot of direct work for the quads. Now, if you have great joints and a young lifter, and also you have a really good ability to execute a quad-based squat. So this might be, hey, when I get in a safety squat bar with a heel elevation, it's so quad biased, it's like all I feel and what fails out first. That's great. Start with that as your first movement. In that case, then put your leg extension as a later movement when you need to get a little extra volume for the quads, but you can't just do 7 sets of squat your entire workout because you're absolutely fried after doing 3 or 4 sets. You would program in that way. But if you're the guy that I do a squat and I feel some quad, but I also get some glute, I get some back, I try going to another lift and that doesn't feel right first, start with the leg extension, then put those other lifts second. The final thing I'll leave you here is with rep range variance. If you're always sticking to the same rep range, especially the lower rep ranges, you might notice that it is going to start giving you beat up connective tissue wise. That's why I would, if you're trying to really bring up quads and you're training them twice a week, is you might want to vary these rep ranges. Is one part of the week, you have your 6 to 10 rep range, and that second part of the week, you do 12 to 15. And then the main goal is you just start to progress your lifts within those rep targets. So you can have some variation there to prevent some connective tissue beat up. However, the goal is still the same of getting stronger week to week, and that ensures that you're keeping up with the adaptations to the last training session. Mastering the leg extension can be the difference between having average quads or elite level massive thighs. If you want to learn how to structure full lower body, upper body training programs, modulate volume, that's what we teach on our level 1 course at J3 University. Or if you want to learn more about just getting the most of every single lift, we also have our applied hypertrophy course. Links are down below to check those out. Subscribe for more physique-based education and content, and let me know down below what exercise should I break down next time.